All right, let's get right into it. We're going to explore a massive event, one that's not some ancient story in the fossil record, but something that's happening right now, all around us. This whole explainer is based on Elizabeth Kolbert's fantastic book, and it really follows a trail of clues about loss, about incredible discoveries, and, well, about our own huge impact on the planet. And our story really kicks off with a mystery. See, in Panama, there was this creek literally called Thousand Frog Stream because it was just so full of life. And then, almost in the blink of an eye, it went quiet. Complete silence. And this silence started spreading. So what we're gonna do is play detective and follow the clues to figure out exactly what happened. So let's begin where any good investigation does, at the scene of the crime. We really need to get a feel for what was lost before we can even start to look for the culprit. This quote just nails the sheer number of them. And we're not talking about your average garden variety frogs either. The Panamanian golden frog is this stunningly bright color, which is basically a giant warning sign that says, I'm super toxic. And they were everywhere. I mean, just try to picture a stream that looks like it's paved with gold. That's the world we're talking about. And that's the world that just disappeared. You know, the really terrifying part is just how fast this all went down. This wasn't some slow, gradual decline. It was like a biological tidal wave just washing east across Panama. Scientists actually saw it coming. They were racing against the clock to save what they could. But this invisible killer was just faster. They were literally in a town collecting frogs one day, and by the next, every frog in that area was dead. So, of course, this leads to the big, haunting question. What on earth could kill so many frogs so systematically, so fast, and leave almost no trace? It wasn't the usual suspects, like pollution or habitat loss. This was something else entirely. And here it is, the murder weapon. Scientists at the National Zoo pretty much stumbled upon it. It's a microscopic fungus, a type of chytrid nobody had ever seen before. What it does is it attacks the frog's skin, which, they use to breathe and absorb vital minerals. And this fungus basically clogs up that system, causing the frog to have a fatal heart attack. It's an unbelievably effective amphibian assassin. Okay, so finding the murder weapon is one thing, but that only solves half the mystery, right? The bigger question is, who wielded it? And to answer that, we have to find the accomplice in all of this. And this is where the mystery gets even weirder. See, this fungus, BRID, it wasn't just in Panama. It was popping up in Australia, in Europe, here in the Americas, all at pretty much the same time. A fungus can't just teleport across oceans. This kind of global, coordinated attack, it just doesn't make any sense from a natural perspective. Well, it turns out both of the main series point a finger at the very same accomplice. Us. Whether it was the African clawed frogs that were shipped all over the world to be used as, believe it or not, living pregnancy tests, or North American bullfrogs being exported for food, the delivery system was global trade. We basically built a superhighway for a microscopic killer and connected it to every single continent on Earth. And here's the really scary thing. This isn't new. We've done this kind of thing before. The story of the frogs isn't some freak accident. It's just the latest chapter in a much older and much bigger story. And to really get it, we need to meet another one of the victims. So meet the great auk. It was a big, flightless bird in the North Atlantic, kind of like a northern version of a penguin. For hundreds of years, sailors hunted them for food. But then, their feathers became really valuable, and that hunting turned into an industrial-scale slaughter. I mean, by the very end, they were so incredibly rare that museum collectors actually paid fishermen to kill the last known breeding pair, just so they could have a stuffed one for their collection. It's just a perfect, tragic example of the pattern. We show up, we exploit, and then they're gone. So we've got the frogs, wiped out by an invisible killer that we helped spread around the world. We've got the auks, wiped out by direct, relentless hunting. But to really understand the scale of what's happening today, we have to zoom out. I mean, way, way out. We need to look at the entire history of life on this planet and its very, very rare catastrophic moments. We hear the term mass extinction all the time, but it has a very specific and, frankly, terrifying meaning. It's not just a lot of species dying off. It's a huge chunk of all life on the planet getting wiped out in what is, geologically speaking, the blink of an eye. It's an event that completely resets the course of evolution.
I think this quote is just perfect because it captures the pure violence and randomness of it all. This isn't the slow, predictable work of natural selection. It's more like a brutal, chaotic hacking away at the tree of life, where being the fittest doesn't matter. Survival becomes a matter of pure dumb luck. In the entire 4.5 billion-year history of Earth, scientists agree that there have only been 5 events that were bad enough to qualify. These are the Big Five. From an ice age that basically froze the planet to the famous asteroid that took out the dinosaurs, each one was a global catastrophe that changed the rules of life forever.
And the worst of them all, the end Permian extinction, came so close to just sterilizing the entire planet. It wiped out 90% of all species on Earth. 90%. That is the kind of catastrophic scale we're talking about when we use the words mass extinction.
All right, so we've seen the crime scene with the frogs, we've seen the historical pattern with the ox, and we've defined what the ultimate planetary disaster looks like. Now, it's time to bring it all together, right here in our moment. This right here, this is the title of the scientific paper that started it all for Colbert. This is what connected all the dots. It took the mystery of those dying frogs in Panama and put it in the same lineup as the Big Five. The scientists who wrote it were basically saying, hey, the rate at which amphibians are disappearing today, it's on par with the worst catastrophes in Earth's history. Think about that. The last mass extinction was caused by a 6-mile-wide asteroid screaming in from outer space. You know, a totally external cosmic event. The cause of this one? Well, the scientists put it pretty bluntly. It's one weedy species that has figured out how to change the fate of almost every other living thing on the planet. They meant us. So, if we are the cause, what exactly are we doing? It's way more than just spreading a fungus or hunting a bird until it's gone. Our legacy is literally being written into the basic chemistry of the planet itself. In the past, when the planet warmed up, say at the end of an ice age, species could just move. They'd migrate to keep up with their preferred climate. But today, the planet is warming at least 10 times faster. For a tree or an insect or a mammal to survive, it has to race towards the poles at a speed that's just impossible. It's like forcing them to run a marathon where the finish line is moving faster than they can run. And it's not just the air. A huge amount of the CO2 we pump out gets absorbed by the oceans. And that's changing their fundamental chemistry, making them more acidic. This is a total disaster for anything that builds a shell or a skeleton, from huge coral reefs down to the tiniest plankton that form the base of the entire marine food web. And the most terrifying part? This exact change in ocean chemistry is one of the key fingerprints of past mass extinctions, including the really bad one, the Great Dying.
So this is really what it all boils down to. Unlike an asteroid, we can see what's happening. The choices we make every single day about what we buy, how we travel, how we power our lives are actively deciding the future of life on Earth. We are literally closing evolutionary doors that will stay shut for millions of years. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, what kind of world will be left when our time here is just a thin layer of sediment in the rock?